Hello, my name is Hannah Graw, and today I'm going to be discussing my own cultural biography and understanding a particular subsection of a diversity, Hispanic children in school. First off, I'll introduce myself. Again, my name is Hannah, and while you all cannot see me, I am a white Caucasian woman. I'm heterosexual and have been in the middle and upper middle class all of my life. I have lived in New Palestine, Indiana, a majority white and Christian community, for my entire life. My primary language, and the only language I can easily speak, is English, and despite my community, I am agnostic. Overall, I grew up with a community that is all very similar to one another, and while some of my friends are living paycheck to paycheck and some of my friends are queer, I never experienced much else in relation to diversity, nor did I ever see any of them as any different than I was. I have grown up around some really incredible people, but I'm also aware of how much my life has been consumed by one race and one kind of person. I am experiencing more as I grow older, and I find myself branching out more. I realize that I still do not see anyone as any different than myself, but that also means that I have trouble understanding difficulties that others may have experienced that I never even think about. I know that there are a lot of groups of people that I need to learn more about, but for this particular presentation, I have decided to focus on Hispanic children in school who have difficulties speaking English. As a future educator, that is a group that I feel I will have the hardest time connecting to because there is a language barrier on top of the race discrimination that they may experience. The first source that I wanted to share is more related to one's understanding of equity than my research project. I feel that every person should understand the difference between equity and equality very early on in life. Equity versus equality, what's the difference, is a source that describes the differences between equity and equality. It provides the definition of both words and then describes why the differences are important. The article states that equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resource or opportunities. Equity recognizes that each person has a different circumstance and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. The source is very simple in wording and provides pictures, which means it's a great source to give to children to learn more about equity and equality. But the information is enough to also be shown to an adult. The author and publisher of this source is the Marin Department of Health and Human Services, which is an official county's website for health and human service related information. The information stated is consistent throughout the article, and the author is a reliable source that specializes in this area of information. Home language versus difficulty speaking language is a forum written by ChildStats regarding child and family statistics. This forum is a collection written with editors from 23 federal government agencies who work with families and children. Because the source is pulled from so many federal agencies, we can trust the authenticity of their research, and they provide related statistics to back their research. Overall, the accuracy, relevance, and authenticity of this source is proven. This source describes the relation between the language a child speaks at home and their ability to comfortably speak and understand English. A limited English-speaking household is defined as a household in which no one aged 14 or over speaks only English at home, and no one aged 14 or over speaks a language other than English at home and speaks English very well, according to ChildStats. And children from these homes are required to receive language help in school. ChildStats also writes that in 2021, approximately 12% of school-age Asian alone and 12% of school-age Hispanic children spoke another language at home and had difficulty speaking English, compared with 1% of white alone non-Hispanic and 1% of black alone non-Hispanic school-age children. This source would be useful to show other educators so that they can understand the difficulties some children may face in their classroom and can find their own ways to connect with these students and their families. Hispanics Feeling More Discrimination at School was written by a writer for Gallup, Julie Ray, who is a Diplomatic Courier contributor. She writes many sources relating to different ethnicities. This source is provided by a news group who is smaller, however that should not affect the authenticity of the article. All statistics are recent, and the article was written in 2023. This article shows statistics regarding Hispanic students in college and education after high school. Hispanic students in 2022 continued to be the most likely of any major racial or ethnic group to report considering stopping out or pausing their studies for one term or longer. More than half of Hispanic students, 52%, said that in the past 6 months they had considered stopping their coursework for at least one term, according to Julie Ray. Ray also wrote that a Lumina Foundation study in 2022 found that 1 in 4 Hispanic students in post-high schools also reported frequently or occasionally being harassed, disrespected, discriminated against, and psychologically or physically unsafe. Many of these students reported that having a mentor at school helped them continue to push through the discrimination in pursuit of their academic goals. This source would be very useful to share with my fellow educators and how much discrimination is felt by Hispanic children. And if I teach an older age group, it would be very interesting to discuss this source. The main things I've taken away from my research can be summarized in 4 parts. First off, I have learned that it is in the educator's hands to ensure that there is an appropriate learning environment for their students. An educator must stand by their student's side to ensure that they are getting the help they need to succeed in just the same way as any other student. It is also important to include assignments where other students can learn about their differences and understand how our cultural makeup defines us and why it should not be used against one another. An educator must also understand the child's social life and the impact that differences and discrimination can make on that. Children do not understand differences and may distance themselves from other children who are different, especially who do not speak the same language. Educators must ensure that students understand more about each other and about how language and culture is something to be shared. This will help students to be more open to befriending, teaching, and learning about different cultures. An educator must also be aware of opportunities at home. No matter what section of cultural makeup impacts their home life, educators must be able to help children depending on their home situations. Lack of Wi-Fi, language barriers, educational barriers, and having to work as a younger child impacts a child's ability not only to learn at home, but also their ability to focus and learn in school. Along with home life is family life. Educators need to be able to find a way to communicate effectively with the child's parents. Miscommunications between parents can cause children to miss parties or field trip dates, and can cause a child's disinterest or pressure with their child's schooling, and can eventually lead to the child not being able to focus on school any longer. It is the educator's responsibility to find a way to communicate with the child's family in the most effective way possible. Thank you for listening to my research and takeaways about Hispanic children and their difficulty speaking English at school, and how this can affect their lives. I hope that anyone who listens has learned more about these children's situations and feel better prepared to cater to a Hispanic child when they are in your classroom. I have attached a link to the sources I used for my assignment and some others that I found interesting, as well as my synopsis of them. I will provide this link as well in my discussion post because I do not know if it will work through this video. Feel free to look through them if you like. Thank you again.